Okay, welcome to the third episode of Hiren Esquire's Business of Law series. We have with us today Dan Purtell from McKeldrew Purtell here in Philadelphia. So first off, Dan, it would be great if you would tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your firm, and a little bit about your path to becoming the partner and business leader of McKeldrew Purtell.
Sure. First of all, good afternoon, Catherine. Great to see you again. Thank you for having me on. As stated, my name is Dan Purtell with McElder Purtell here in Philadelphia. We are a catastrophic injury and wrongful death trial firm. Lucky to have 18 fantastic lawyers. I think roughly 60 people on our team right now, um, handling cases that run the gamut from workplace to trucking to medical malpractice, nursing, civil rights, anything unfortunately where people get seriously injured. The firm started about probably 15, 20 years ago under Jim McEldrew. It was a much smaller. I think when I started, I was the third employee, maybe fourth, and it's grown to where it is now. So we're pretty excited about where we're going.
So, as we've talked about before, the purpose of this series is sort of to talk about some of the business aspects of running a law firm. A lot of lawyers find themselves in the position of partner or managing partner or being in a management position at a law firm. And while they know a lot about practicing law, they have to learn on the fly about running a business and all of the challenges and the few joys that come with that. I know you started at your current firm, like you said, as the third employee and practicing attorney. Um, when you stepped into a management role at your firm, what surprised you the most about what it takes to run a law firm?
Um, that I needed better people, right? I was not conducive to doing it all myself, right? I did not have the requisite skill set or the breadth of skill sets that something like this really needed. And I think you mentioned earlier about how we've grown. I think that's a direct reflection of the people that have joined our team. When we started, I mean, all credit to Jim. He's a fantastic lawyer, a better mentor and friend. Really gave me a place to learn the law and to really develop my own practice. But it was a different world back then, right? This was before COVID, when everybody was forced to embrace systems, and everybody kind of did everything. And whatever was needed at the time, whoever was there jumped on it and took it forward. And it was really kind of that all hand on deck, anything at any time mentality, and that went for a long time. And it worked well, but as we grew and as the world changed, that obviously doesn't work anymore. And I think that the real inflection point for us was getting great people. And I can say now that we really have, from top to bottom, from every level of our team. I'm impressed every day by the people that work with us, and I thank them.
I think a lot of firms really struggle with hiring specifically because it's a skill in its own right to figure out how to assess who to hire and what the right skill set is, and but not just skill sets, right? When you're trying to grow a firm, and especially a small firm, you want to make sure that you've got the right sort of mix of personalities as well. So what have you learned about hiring and people management that you think would benefit other firms of your size?
That I shouldn't be in charge of it and to trust the professionals. Uh, in all seriousness, we did go as far to hire an HR professional, and it really added a professional edge to our HR department and decisions. Very impressive to see. Getting to that point was a process, right? I mean, for every success, there was at least one failure or moderate, wrong path. It's hard to run the practice while finding the right people, because most times when you find yourself hiring, there's a distinct need that needs to get fixed right now. And there's somebody sitting there that's willing to do it. And it's not necessarily the question of, is it the best person to do it, but will they do it right now? And, that really kind of influenced the first half of my career when we were looking and hiring people. And now we take a much more, I'd say, polished and long-term approach to it, in large part with through our management team and through Kristen. So it's a much more sophisticated practice these days.
That's great. I will uh, piggyback off of that and shamelessly plug that Hire and Esquire, we also are professionals and we love it when firms trust us as well with their hiring. I love that you're identifying people who have the right skill set as opposed to trying to flex into those yourself if that's not something you already have core to what you're doing. But what resources have you found that have been most helpful to help you kind of bulk up your business skills and adapt your perspective so you can run the firm like a business or run it like successfully with business?
Twofold. One, trial and error, unfortunately, right? You get some things right, you get some things wrong, and you keep moving forward, and you have to make the next decision. I think in our business, we're fortunate that our craft is such a big part of the business that you know it's really trying to systematize how you want to do a case or systematize how you want to operate within the law. So, I feel like I have a good handle on that, and that has served us pretty well. But again, really trying to define roles, right? Traditionally, we would, if a role wasn't involved in the actual litigation of a case, it was hard to justify in the firm structure. At this point, we probably have more non-litigative personnel and teammates than we do litigators,
Mhm.
right? Because there's so much that goes on in the larger practice, the larger operation of the office that isn't purely operating on a case or conducting a case. So, coming to that point where we were going to really commit to building out those portions of our practice, I think was our first and most important step towards the future.
And I know for a firm like yours, marketing strategies are important. You're trying to make sure that people who need your representation are able to find you at the precise time that they're in need. How have you developed your marketing strategy for your firm?
So we don't necessarily have what everybody understands to be a traditional legal marketing strategy, right? We don't do the billboards. No disservice to people who do, right? That works for them. We really focus on working directly with lawyers who come across cases that might not be within their specific practice or business model. What we focus on are complex cases with, unfortunately, most likely large damages that have an opportunity to be maximized. We limit the number of cases that our attorneys have. We give them all the bells and whistles and resources to go and build the case as thoroughly and as expertly as possible. And we really expect deep work on each file, with the end goal being to maximize the recovery for our client and the experience for our referral source. So we kind of tailor our marketing to other lawyers, in a various the assortment of methods, but it's more of a old school traditional B2B relationship based marketing for us, right? As opposed to us trying to go out and find the exact clients, because in our experience, it's the attorneys who are getting more and more cases that every once in a while have a case that's right for us, and it's more difficult for us to go directly to that one person as it is to work with the lawyers who find the case through their businesses.
How are you developed? That makes a lot of sense. How have you sort of developed that network to make sure that you're staying in contact with the right firms or attorneys or
Now those are the state secrets, Catherine.
okay.
No,
Well,
no, it's
we're not here to reveal state secrets.
no, I'm kidding. No, it starts off with network. It starts off with relationships, lunches, social outings, going to a baseball game, golf. Any number of relationship based activities. When we were younger, drinks and happy hour, right? So there was plenty of building those relationships over the past 20 years. And now as that network's careers and responsibilities have grown, so is our office, and people that I kind of grew up with are now in the position to make those decisions, and it's really all coming together.
That's great. I actually love to hear that because I think a lot of firms are trying to grow with strictly digital strategies, like new firms are trying
Yeah.
to grow with strictly digital strategies. And there's still a lot of room for old school networking if people will do it.
And listen, a lot of those newer, you say newer firms or younger firms, whatever they might be, they're killing it. They're doing a great job,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
So, we're always looking to work with those new cutting edge opportunity or business models, right? Whether they be on the billboards like Top Dog or the purely digital stuff,
Hmm.
right? Like you have a bunch of young guys stepping into that space right now. You have Ethan Ostroff, you have James Helm, there's a bunch more, and they're great to work with. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think the approach has to fit for the firm that you're building, right? So it makes a
yeah,
lot of sense. I see Top Dog on Reddit all the time, so he's
yeah, we're
doing
actually trying to go in the opposite direction. We're looking for less cases to do more work on, as opposed to more cases to kind of flush out the practice. So it's a
interesting.
good synergy when people start getting successful in that space because they sometimes have cases that are perfect for us.
How do you prioritize and balance your strategy and growth efforts for your firm with the billable work, as I understand that you are still doing as a practicing attorney for the firm, right?
Um, it goes back to people, right? We have I know I've said it multiple times, and I hopefully will say it again. Um, we have fantastic attorneys, paralegals, nurses, staff that we can count on to do their job so that we can do ours. And for me, that takes on a bunch of different forms, right? I have lawyers that I can count on to when we're working a case together and I have to show up and do a deposition. I know that the work's done. I know that the file's done. Candidly, I don't do nearly as much as I would like to, and not certainly not as much as I used to, as far as real casework. But I still stay involved in as many cases as I can, and I rely upon our team that I know they'll do the job when I'm not there. Which was
Right.
the hardest part of this whole growth process, was
Yeah.
to learn to let go. I mean, that really is the biggest challenge. Coming from a place where, I used to do everything from intakes through trial, really letting people develop their own proficiencies and expertise throughout that life cycle, and getting away from it and not micromanaging as much as possible. I know some people in the office are going to see that and laugh because they think I'm all over them, but I apologize and I'm still trying to do better.
How is technology helping you scale your firm? You talked about this a little bit in the beginning about, how you've been systematizing things and COVID was a real inflection point for a lot of firms in terms of having to embrace technology. But how are you incorporating it specifically into your strategy? And if AI is part of that, we'd certainly love to hear about it.
The simple answer is leaning as far in as possible, right? From working remote, we're everybody was forced to work remote, right? It was just the reality of life for a few years there. We see it as n- we found a way with the professionals that we have to work remotely, right? And that's going to be a sustaining business model for us. I know there's a call now to bring people back in. We are people coming to the office when they need to, right? When the work requires, when whatever we're doing needs them in the office. Of course, we have some people that are in the office, right? Because you need physical operations in the office, but you don't need to require everybody to commute every day. And we've found that we have people that are accountable, that are professional, that get their work done, and give them that time in their life back, give them that space in their life back, and let them choose. Right? We have people that want an office, that want to be there every day. We facilitate that. We have people that want to work at home, and we provide them the tech needed to be there. As far as and to enable all that, we've done our best to really create an end-to-end system, whether it be our marketing dashboard or our CRM or our file management system, to where we can all work relatively seamlessly, regardless of who's in an office and who's somewhere out of town or who's at home. So it seems to be working well. We're so convinced in it that we're building our own end-to-end system right now, that is designing or being designed to be a full end-to-end data life cycle for our cases, with hopes of being able to do more work with less effort and better results for our clients.
just for the benefit of uh, the firms that use our system, that we talk to daily, that we coach when it comes to making hires. I would love to hear a little bit more about, I think, how you've found your hybrid model where you come in if you need to and you're working from home if you don't. Has that helped you attract better talent, do you feel? Because that's a struggle we run into a lot, where we have firms that really want attorneys to be in the office 5 days a week, and it limits the pool significantly. And I think they think they're getting better candidates when they do that, but I actually think that might not always be the case.
100% it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Um, again, it's we will work with whatever model. We start off with the premise that we're looking for true accountable professionals at whatever role it is. And whether they are working from the beach or working from home or in an office, however many hours a week, that they're getting their job done the best they can, right? And with that understanding, who cares from my perspective where they're doing it, right? If it takes somebody 45 minutes to get to work and 45 minutes to get home, why not give them to like a couple few days a week that hour and a half back, so that they're a better, more fulfilled, happy person, so that when they are working, they're kicking butt and they're not worried about a commute, unless it's really necessary. So it's really trying to trust your people, trying to enable them to make the right decisions, and with the understanding that we're all going to work better when we have a little bit more time in our lives.
Last official question before you can say anything you want at the end. If you had a friend who was starting his own firm or her own firm in, let's say, another city, and you could give them any piece of advice about starting a firm or running their own law firm, what do you think would be the essential thing that you would feel they had to know before they started on that endeavor?
Twofold. One, you really do need to know your business, right? At the end of the day, I feel comfortable with my ability to litigate a case, and various types of complex cases. And with that, we can start syndicating systems on how to do that repeatedly over larger groups of cases. So I think you need to start by really understanding your craft. I've done all the little minutia that go into the larger case, that I, even though I don't do that anymore, I certainly know how to do it and I know what it's like to do it, right? So you need to really know your craft end to end. And then people. I really can't stress that enough. And that's one of the reasons I really agreed to come on here, because I do think a commitment to hiring better people, more talented, more engaged people. I mean, our team is just stellar right now, and they're fantastic to work with. You can turn your back and everything's done the way it's supposed to be, and it returns. I mean, an amazing product when you let it go. So know your craft and hire good people.
Anything else that you think our listeners should know about the business of law before we wrap?
There's so many variations in the law, right? I was fortunate enough to find the one that I like, that's engaging for me, and that I think I'm pretty good at, right? I would not be a very good lawyer in a lot of spaces. So find the place that does that for you, right? Find the one that's comparable to your skill sets. Find the one that you like. Don't practice law that you don't like doing. There's plenty of variations out there. Go find something that you like doing.